What's up, guys? I'm here. I'm here with Seth. Let's bring him in. It looks like his. What's up, Seth? I also got ET here. He'll be casting tonight. How's it going?
What's up? What's up? Too bad we don't have ET's camera, but ET's joining us to be our caster for tonight's awesome set of games. How are you, ET?
Doing well. Happy to be here.
Great. So tonight is our evening here, but day 14 out of 28 in the regular season. So after tonight, we would have wrapped up the first half of the season. And at that point, everybody's going to be fighting for playoff positioning here. But tonight's game is pretty interesting. We're going to start off with Code A. We have Stu Blue, who's a rookie in this division, Code A division, faced off against the Archaic, and we saw his game last Wednesday against Little Reaper, and he took out the 2-0 victory. ET, were you able to see that game at all?
Yes, I believe I saw that.
Yeah, it's a good matchup. It's funny because you see them on camera. They were both giddy. They were ready to see where they stood against each other. But it was a pretty impressive victory there by the Arcade, catching the Little Reaper ill-prepared because he wasn't expecting against the Terran. So it was the victory there. But he's gonna be playing against Stu Blue tonight again. We're gonna be see that as the first game, and then gonna be followed by the match of the Titans here between GG Izzy against Kodayo. And I think GG Izzy formed together with Dark Menace and Neutrophil specifically to snipe Kodayo since Kodayo won last season. And this is their grudge match tonight. And we're going to see that right after Code A. And then immediately following that, we're going to see Dark Menace again, but this time against Instability. And I think this is a good benchmark game for Instability to see where she really stands against the top player in the league. So about that, ET, what do you think about that final game, Code S, Instability versus Dark Menace?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see. Obviously, Instability, I believe, was the first person to take a game off of Dark Menace in the previous season. So we'll see if she manages to continue that or if it was a little bit of a fluke. And yeah, obviously, we've seen a little bit of her having some rematches, and she has looked a little bit stronger against people she's played previously. But we'll see if she keeps that up against Dark Menace, who's definitely probably the toughest player she'll face.
Yeah, definitely. I remember that series against Dark Menace, and she had a lot of opportunities to steal that match and, taking it either 2-0 or 2-1, but unfortunately she just came up short. But yes, she did win a game, and I'm looking that she's going to be prepared more tonight, and I want to see how that really unfolds. But that's not until later. We're going to be starting off with Stu Blue and the Archaic. So let's bring them in. Let's chat with them. Let's see if Stu Blue can. Well, we'll bring Stu Blue in here and bring the Archaic. Joining us now are our players for Code A tonight. We have Stu Blue and the Archaic. Gentlemen, how are you guys doing? Let's start with Stu Blue. What do you think about the game tonight? How do you feel in your chances this matchup against the Archaic?
I don't think my chances are that high. I think I might be able to get a map, but I noticed he played Terran first game in all his matches.
Yeah, so he did play Terran, as you said. He's only played 2 games, and both of them he did that. Are you expecting him to do the same thing here tonight? And have you prepared for it?
Yeah, I've prepared for it just in case. I mean, he might not do it the first game, but I think he'll at least do it once.
Gotcha. And the Archaic, you heard what Stu Blue just said. Anything you want to say or reveal in your plans for tonight?
We'll see in the game, I guess.
We'll see in the game. Okay. Well, what about you, the Archaic? What do you think about the matchup tonight, and how confident are you in tonight's games?
I think Stu Blue is a pretty solid player. I think. But I think I can win here tonight.
Okay, all right. ET, do you have any questions here for our Code A players?
Let's see. So, how are y'all? Have y'all been able to get a lot of practice in recently, or have you been a little bit more relaxed about it? How have you been doing? And let's start with Archaic. Have you been able to get a lot of practice in, or have you been a little bit more lax about it?
I've had to practice against Lower Reaper this week, and I actually kind of forgot about the game this week, so I only had time to practice Thursday and Friday.
Okay, all right. And how about Stu Blue? Have you been getting a lot of practice in?
I've been getting a little bit of practice, and I've just been mainly practicing against Terran just to try to get my build faster.
Okay, awesome. All right, well, that's all I have, I think, Seth.
Gotcha. Production here with KJ Freedom. Any questions or final thoughts before we get started?
Sure.
And as I invite Stu Blue here in the lobby.
Yeah, sure. So, Stu Blue, question for you. You know you're a huge underdog here, even though actually for you, for someone relatively new, you have played really well. Like the leaps and bounds of you've improved has been amazing. However, the Archaics has been playing for many years, right? So, I know you already mentioned you don't think you have too much of a chance, but I think you have a good chance. What do you want to say to people that are rooting for you?
At least get one map. And thank you.
All right. And the Archaic, you had a nice win last night, and you're very Bill Belichick-like with your interview questions, answers, right? So very good, very smart. You're like a veteran. I mean, your name is the Archaic. You're like an old young person, so it's really funny. So you got any words to your fans? I'm sure you have people that are like, "Wow, this kid is good." Do you have any words for them?
I uh not I mean kind of not really though.
All right. Well, guess what? I just saw on the chat that Science putting $20 to the winner of the match. I don't know how serious he is, but we'll find out. But that's that is something. I'm surprised,
Very
So
serious, he says.
yeah,
So
yeah, we'll see.
right, wow.
We'll
But you know,
see.
I don't think the Archaic knows who Bill Belichick is, so I'm gonna have to
Explain
educate
what
him
that
on that
is.
or
Yeah, yeah.
explain what that is. But I think we're good to go.
All right.
We're gonna talk to both of you after the match. Good luck and have fun. All right, we're gonna mute them here. All right,
Okay.
and we're starting. I'm gonna turn it over to our caster for tonight, ET.
Thank you. All right, so it's going to be Berlingrad LE. We're going to be starting off on, obviously following that up with 2,000 Atmospheres and Curious Minds. So fairly normal macro-focused maps, as is somewhat typical. And here we go.
You are watching FSL Season 5.
In the bottom right-hand side of Berlingrad LE, we have our purple Terran player. He is
The Archaic.
And in the upper left, his red Protoss opponent. He is
Stu Blue 88.
And we have two quick SCVs out of the Archaic going across the map. So looks like it's going to be a proxy 2-Rax Reaper, I would imagine, as we do have a gas first. And it's going to be a pretty well-placed gateway, I would say, for Stu Blue. Having it as close to the Nexus as possible is nice, because your units are popping out right where they need to defend, typically speaking. It is possible this will be Marauders, but with how early the gas has been added on, I would really expect this to be Reapers. Just because Marauders are not very gas intensive. They only cost about 25 per Marauder, and then the 50 for the Concussive Shell upgrade. But this is not going to be a super committed attack, generally speaking. You are needing to get some damage done, but this is something you can macro out of, and then just use the Reapers to kind of harass. So it's not the end of the world if he doesn't kill him here. Stu Blue is going for a Cyber Core before Nexus, which is another good sign for his defense. Obviously, that'll allow him to start making units like Stalkers and Adepts. And actually, we do have a Tech Lab So a little bit of extra gas going to be being floated, perhaps going to add on a factory later on. But it actually is going to be Marauders, it looks like. Still no expansion out of Stu Blue. Is good for him overall. But I'm a little worried at the lack of scouting. Obviously, at this point, has not sent out any scout, is blissfully unaware of what may be going on the other side of the map. As the Archaic going to be starting up a bunker in the natural of Stu Blue, and is producing those Marauders with concussive shells, getting his orbital command on the way as well. Stu Blue's adding on a second gateway. If he can just get out a sentry or two and a shield battery, it'll be very easy to cut units off on the ramp when they try to move up. So the defense for him should actually go pretty smoothly if he manages to do that. Now the first Marauder is coming up. He does have concussive shells.
Research complete.
And will reveal himself here. So Stu Blue now knows what's going on. The Archaic is going to try and kite here, but the ramp will actually make it somewhat hard to do so. And you really want to kind of hold the ramp as Stu Blue here. And thus far, he is indeed doing that. Should be able to deny this bunker as well, although with the second Marauder coming up, and high ground really hurting him here. The Adept will provide a lot of good tanking here. The Marauders really should target this Stalker, but not doing so just yet. We'll be able to kill the Adept, but one Marauder is very low on HP. Does get taken out. Good target fire out of Stu Blue. And the other Marauder is forced to back off. Might just barely get the bunker up, and indeed he does. Does lose the SCV, though, so no repairs, and he can't see up the high ground without walking up there, so the bunker is only somewhat useful. However, Stu Blue not microing will lose his Stalker, a little bit slow on the production of his other units, and no shield battery being made. One Stalker does come out, but he really should pull probes here. Unfortunately, is not opting to do so, and has both of his gateways completely depowered right as they're about to be able to do a warp in. Will now pull all of the probes to try and keep this pylon alive. He has money to do warp ins, he just doesn't have the buildings to do warp ins, and he's allowing the pylon to get targeted down, which means he will not be able to get out any more units, and GG is going to be called a quick first game. Very quick first match there. A very well planned out attack out of the Archaic. Stu Blue not really scouting. That's pretty essential in that early game PVT. You got to be able to see what's coming with those all-ins, or else you're going to get caught. And indeed, he did get caught. Some Marauders were able to take him out there. I think if he'd managed to make a couple shield batteries or something as well, he may have been able to hold, but probably just not fully versed on the exact response you want to be going for in that situation. Obviously, double proxy Marauder, not something you're going to see all too often.
Hey, ET, does this remind you of when, foreigners play the Koreans? They will really do aggressive plays and see how they stack up.
Yeah, it's true. It's sort of like the I forget what they call it. Basically, just testing your opponent,
Yeah. It's like a skill check, basically, right? It's like, okay, do you know how to handle this?
Yep, can you handle that? And obviously, there are very specific things. I mean, you can even scout a build like that, and if you don't know what you're supposed to do in that situation, you can know exactly what's coming and still lose.
Yeah.
So it's just something that you learn over time after you run into it a few times, and then you kind of stop losing to it. But that may very well be the first time Stu Blue has ever run into that build.
Yeah,
it is
exactly.
Somewhat rare.
Yep.
You are watching FSL Season 5.
All right, in the upper right-hand side of 2000 Atmospheres LE, we have
Stu Blue 88.
And in the lower left-hand side, the purple Protoss, he is
The Archaic.
So up 1-0 quite swiftly is the Archaic, who is swapped back to Protoss. He's got a little bit of a formula going on. You cheese as Terran, and then you switch to Protoss and do whatever, and it's working out for him just about as well as it worked out for him against Little Reaper last week. Looks like he is going to be going for a potential proxy once again. And funnily enough, we saw this out of Little Reaper against Cyan on this exact map a couple weeks ago, or at least something that looked quite similar in that PvP. Almost the exact same proxy location. We'll see exactly what he opts for. It is an early pylon, but it's just so he can get in and pretend that his scout is a normal scout, as he will be dropping his cybernetics core soon. Stu Blue opting for the same build as before. And we have the cyber cores dropping down for both players. Looks like Stu Blue actually will be opting to expand. Maybe went down to the low ground with a probe and then pulled back up, so perhaps not. Maybe going to scout this time, which would be good. The problem is this is not as easy of an attack to scout. In theory, it's just, you know, do they not have a second pylon? But it's a little bit harder to figure out than just, oh, there's literally 0 barracks in my opponent's main base, as we saw in the last game. We do have the proxy now coming down. It is going to be a proxy robo with a second gateway, so almost identical to the Little Reaper build that we saw against Cyan on this exact same map, as I mentioned earlier. We do have a scout that's actually proxying, I think, for Stu Blue as well, outside the main base of the Archaic. Potentially going to be some sort of proxy Stargate, but with an all-in already coming across the map for Stu Blue, that's or for the Archaic, that's going to kind of hurt. Yeah, this proxy Stargate's a little bit slow, and there's not a much better solution to a proxy Stargate than already having 4 gateways with Warp Gate soon to be done. So this might be a little bit of an unfortunate build order matchup here for Stu Blue in the second game. We do have an Immortal being made now, continually chrono boosting the Warp Gate, as that Stargate only just now starting to finish up. And on the other side of the map, Stu Blue has 1 Zealot, and that's it. The Archaic has scouted the build, and I think just 3 Stalkers on the high ground warp in and kill that pylon. The probe can't get out to make more buildings, and I think that might be all she wrote there. Is it's actually going to be 4 Stalkers, but they are warping in aggressively. There is a Void Ray on the way, but I think with the production that the Archaic has out, he'll be able to just overwhelm any amount of Void Rays that Stu Blue can make. As the Stalkers and Immortals are charging into the main base of Stu Blue, he is pulling all his probes. Chrono boosting his Void Ray as well. Will he be aggressive with it, or will he try and defend? Okay, it looks like he's just going to run with the probes, perhaps expand elsewhere, and he's going to take the fight to the Archaic with the overcharge on his Void Ray. No shield batteries out for the Archaic yet, and 3 of his gateways will get depowered momentarily here. Stu Blue, unfortunately, is only able to make 1 Void Ray. He's actually making +1. I feel like you should probably make another Void Ray rather than +1. There it comes. We have a Void Ray coming down. He still has enough to make a Nexus. Just trying to find the optimal spot to drop that, and Stu Blue needs to get out of there as the Stalkers have warped home. The Immortal is staying on the other side of the map. We'll be able to slowly kill off that Nexus, but I'm not sure if 4 Stalkers is going to be enough against 2 overcharged Void Rays. They do have a shield battery, which is nice. I feel like Stu Blue should probably recall one of the Void Rays to deal with that Immortal, but it's a tough situation to figure out what you're supposed to do here. As almost every single probe for Stu Blue is just sitting in the corner of the map, not doing anything, as he's busy microing his Void Rays. That means he's not getting any extra money. When he's making another Void Ray, which means if he loses that Nexus, that would be all his mining. It looks like the Archaic F2 does Immortal back across the map, though, perhaps to help deal with those shield batteries. And he is targeting down the Void Rays. And that probe getting stuck was quite unfortunate. It meant he couldn't make any more shield batteries, and the last Void Ray will not even make it out. All the production structures of Stu Blue have been deactivated or killed, which means it should just be a pretty clean cleanup for the Archaic. I think he's expecting there to be a proxy Nexus already. However, Stu Blue actually did not wind up making one, so his Stalkers are sort of wandering around for nothing. But even with this extra time that he's managing to buy, I'm just not sure it's going to be enough to get anything of value out, as the Archaic has a full base of mining up, and even smartly sending a few Stalkers back to that Stargate just to make sure it does not get sneakily repowered, which is exactly what Stu Blue is trying to do. He does manage to catch a Stalker, which is nice, but will be able to prevent any more Void Rays from getting out. And the Stalker is now heading up into the main base of Stu Blue, and GG's called.
Alright, I think that was a quick series. A lot of cheeses going on, but let's talk to our players here. Good games, gentlemen. Stu Blue, let's start with you. I know you were expecting Terran, you got Terran, but what were you expecting the Terran to do in that first game?
I was expecting him to like go tank Marauder Marines because that's what he did in the previous 2 games he played Terran. So I was just gonna macro.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, it looks like you were set up well for that tank push that's gonna come a little bit later, but unfortunately it came with the Marauders that's a lot earlier. Yeah, I think ET said it during the cast. The way you deal with that is just to make a shield battery, and the shield battery will help you deflect those Marauders. But I think that's something to keep in mind in the future. I think you had the preparation, just didn't know how to handle that specific instance. And then game 2. You tried to do a proxy Void Ray, which was a good idea. Unfortunately, he was doing a proxy 4-gate Robo. What was going through your mind when you first saw those Stalkers and an Immortal while you were doing your Void Ray?
I was like, I'm screwed because I knew that if they build Stalkers, then it won't work. So I just tried to get out this many pro or
Gotcha.
pylons.
ET, do you have any questions here for Stu Blue?
I think you've covered it pretty well. Obviously, it was a pretty short series, so there's not a whole lot of questions to be had. Yeah, I think obviously the Archaic playing it pretty well there, switching it up, expecting macros so you don't wind up scouting the all-in. But yeah, I don't have a whole lot of questions, unfortunately. KJ, did you have anything?
Yeah, just a little tip. When you get stuck like that with the probe, cancel one of those batteries, get them out, and then start doing. Because I think it would have made a difference if you had more batteries there. And, that really changes things. And the other thing is, that probe that was stuck and you made it mine, that let the Archaic see that you had something there, so he went to check. So if you hadn't done that, he wouldn't have known, and perhaps the game would be different. Perhaps he would have tried to defend, and he's at a disadvantage, right? So everything kind of snowballed just from your probe getting stuck. So just make sure, just remember, my tip is you can always cancel something. You don't have to commit. Move him out, and then go back to your plans. How much is a shield battery? And then when you cancel it, you only lose, 33% of that cost? So totally worth it. So just a small tip on that. Otherwise, I like the build, actually. It's just a cool build.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's cool. Yeah, it is a cool build. Now, congratulations to the Archaic taking it 2-0. Now, let me ask you, when you saw the Void Ray proxy, was there a thought in your mind that, oh, I'm actually going to be in trouble? Or what was going through your thoughts, going through your head at that moment?
When I saw the probe at the mineral line, I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of proxy void, right? So at first, I actually should have used the invention to make shield batteries, but I forgot what those buildings were for a second, and I didn't make them. But then I just had my units across the map, and I just worked with stalkers at home, so I just went to attack and see what damage I could do before recalling my stalkers.
Gotcha. And then the first game, you were practicing Terran, and you on all 3 matches that you've had so far this season, you've kicked off with the Terran and then switched to Protoss. Is this something we're going to be looking forward to? Because now people are scouting that.
We'll see.
Okay. ET, do you have any questions here for the Archaic?
I mean, very well played overall. Pretty straightforward. Some good preparation there. Were you worried when you saw it was a 1 base out of Stu Blue in game 1, or did you feel pretty confident you could pull it out with the Marauders?
I think Stu Blue usually does 1 base, so I kind of practiced for that, so I wasn't nervous about it.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's all I have, Seth.
All right, KJ, do you have any questions here for the Archaic?
No, pretty strong showing. You know what you're doing, so no questions for you.
All right, good games, guys. Now the Archaic will stay put because he's going to be playing in the 2v2 game. Good Good to see you, Stu Blue. We'll look forward to your future games. And then we're gonna move now to our 2v2 game between Kodeo and GG Izzy. So let's bring in our players here. We're gonna bring in Regret and Team GG Izzy, composed of Dark Menace and Neutrophil. So joining us now are our 2v2 teams. Let's start with GG Izzy. How are you guys doing? How's your practice and anything you guys are preparing for tonight's game against Kodeo?
No, we definitely have not been practicing, and we don't have any plan. I'm sorry.
All right, that was a succinct answer there. But how do you like your chances against Kodeo tonight?
I think it could go either way. We haven't practiced too much. I know they've been practicing though, and I know they're gonna do something pretty aggressive. But yeah, I'd say our chances are pretty good.
That's all right. I know you're answering all the questions here. What about you, Dark Menace? What are your thoughts about tonight's game?
I don't think I can say anything.
Okay, all right. Well, actually, ET, do you have any questions here for GG Izzy?
Yeah, well, nothing that'll get any answers out of him, I think. What aren't your plans? Wink, wink. No. Well, I think they're being pretty cloak and dagger, unfortunately. But I mean, you gotta be sometimes, right? So I think we can.
Maybe we can
find
ask
another
him,
team.
what does it mean to you if you win this? You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Do you find this to be an important match? I mean, obviously, I think Kodeo, if I remember right, was the winners of the previous season. So do you feel any like it would be pretty good to get the win against the previous winners, or are you pretty calm about it?
Probably the latter. I think it'd be pretty cool, but I mean, it's just something nice to have.
Okay. All right, let's move on now to Kodeo. Let's see if they will reveal anything. But let me ask you guys. This is only the regular season, so if you guys win this, that's great. But it's the playoffs that's more important. Are you guys going to be revealing any builds here that you're gonna be playing? You know, might be saving up for the Protoss, or I mean for the playoffs, or you guys really want this win tonight for regular season?
This win is actually, I think, more important than you may realize because, as you may know, the members of GG Izzy and Kodeo are actually best buddies, and we also happen to share a Discord server with a lot of, there's a lot of trash talking. So it's really, it's a bragging rights thing. It's, yeah, you get it. You get it. It's
Yeah, we get it.
really
It
an
won't
important thing for
end.
us.
You won't hear the end of it, basically.
No,
So
yeah, so basically it holds the same weight as a playoff game. So we're gonna give it our all and maybe not embarrass ourselves.
Gotcha. I mean, you're absolutely right. The bragging rights will continue on for the next 2 months because right now it's March 11th. And if you guys do face each other in the playoffs, that won't be until early mid-May. So that's 2 months worth of bragging rights. So yeah, I guess it's a very important game. Now, what about you, the Archaic? I know you're warmed up already, but what do you think about tonight's game, and do you really want this win?
I'm actually really excited for this game. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
All right. ET or KJ, do you guys have any questions here for Kodeo?
well, it's hard for you guys to know what races they'll play, what combination. So that's a disadvantage. So I don't, how do you guys feel about that extra level of disadvantage, basically?
Well, I know Neutrophil is actually in love with Terran right now, so I'm kind of expecting him to go Terran, and I see that he's also Terran in the lobby right now, but I don't know. Yeah, he just changed it to Protoss. I don't know. It'll happen, but kind of expecting what I'm seeing. So it's Zerg Terran from Neutrophil and Dark Menace, and I mean we've prepared for other things, but that's mainly the thing that we're looking at, and I don't know. Maybe it'll go well.
All right. Any final thoughts?
Oh,
Dark Menace?
Go
ahead.
I just like how the Archaic caught himself from saying, "I'm looking forward to this win." It said this game. I like the confidence. I'm looking forward to this.
All right. We haven't heard much from Dark Menace. Any final thoughts, Dark Menace?
Uh,
I mean, you're the
No.
number one player ranked right now in Code S, our top division. So as the top player in FSL right now, what are your thoughts about tonight's game?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Blink
so I
twice
guess.
if you're in danger.
All right. I think he
Oh
blinked
my gosh.
just once.
All right.
All right. Let's stop dragging this out and let's get it on. Let's see who's gonna come out on top. Good luck. Have fun, gentlemen. Go ahead and go to your own lobby. I'm not gonna be able to mute you. You guys can communicate. Although you guys are in the same room anyway, both of you, so it doesn't even matter. But good luck and have fun. Talk to you guys after the match. All right. Turning it back over to you, ET. Have fun casting this 2v2.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be quite the match. Okay, so we're starting off on Arctic Dream as our first map. This is one is fairly notable in that it's one of the 2 or 3 maps where you do not share a main base as either team. So it makes you a little bit more exposed to cheeses, as we actually saw in GG Izzy's previous match against the blind leading the deaf. You're able to isolate one player a little bit more. So that's something to watch out for here. But here we go.
Watching FSL Season 1.
In the bottom right-hand side of the map, we have our orange Zerg player. He is
Dark Menace.
And his ally, the green Terran. He is
Neutrophil.
Together, they are
GG Izzy.
And their opponent in the top left-hand side of the map, the purple Protoss. He is
The Archaic.
And the blue Zerg player. He is
Regret.
Together, they are
Team Kodeo.
all right. So, thus far, we've got an expansion out of both the Zergs. Our Protoss and our Terran obviously going to expand a little bit later, generally speaking. I think in 2v2s, it's even more important, I think, to prepare builds than in 1v1s. In part because it's a little bit harder to just play a sort of lackadaisical, I'm just going to macro and defend everything in 2v2s. Because you have to really work together with your team. And so if you've prepared builds and your builds are really in sync, that's going to be a lot stronger than it would be just having a prepared build in 1v1. Not that having a prepared build hurts in 1v1, but it definitely helps a lot in 2v2s and makes players able to beat teams where the individuals on those teams are, on paper, a lot stronger. This should be a pretty close match overall, as Kadeo obviously did take the previous season. GG Izzy did not play in the previous season, but they're obviously both very strong players in their own right from the Code S. Now, it looks like we do have 2 Barracks Reaper coming out, with a third coming down for Neutrophil as well. We saw this out of him on this map last match as well, although it didn't really get to get going. Dark Menace, though, just macroing up, so I think we're going to see Neutrophil try and put the pressure on with his off race, while Dark Menace with his main race just hits his macro cycles as best he can and maybe hits a follow-up attack a little bit later on, which I like as a choice. The Archaic does scout the 1 proxied barracks, pings it so his ally knows exactly where it is, and the Reaper ignores that probe, is going to go straight across and try and get some damage done immediately. Stargate is on the way for the Archaic, and Ling Speed on the way for both of our Zerg players as well. Shield Battery is going down, so the Archaic really respecting this, making that Shield Battery, even though it's just Reapers. I think that's a good choice, a wise choice out of the Archaic. Is targeting one of the Reapers down, should be able to get him. Barely misses the target fire. The Reapers are targeting down probes. I think you just got to pull the probes here. Yeah, get this around. He should be able to kill 2 Reapers here, maybe. The target fire's not there, though. And unfortunate for Kodeo there. They do manage to deny the bunker from going up. That's big. And 1 Reaper will go down. I like that Regret is trying to target down the Reapers and not worry too much about the individual Lings, as the Reapers are who will be able to regenerate more. It is going to be a heavy Ling Bane all-in out of Dark Menace, but there's absolutely nothing that shoots up, and there's 1 Void Ray out with another one on the way. Should be able to use the shield battery to repair that if he needs to. Is able to, but he doesn't have anything on the wall, not making any additional stalkers, purely relying on his air units. And now with Banelings coming in, Dark Menace says okay to that battery overcharge. Regret trying to hold against the Reapers. There's only 4 of them, and Queens are pretty decent against Reapers. A lot of Lings coming out now. Does find the Banelings as they're morphing. That's big. Very good for the Archaic. The aggression doesn't stop, though, as more Reapers and Lings pour across the map. I think a slight oversight to have 0 anti-air in your all-in, but what can you do? As the 2 Void Rays are now out, they're going to target down the Banelings, which is nice for Kadeo. Some Banelings did make it out now, and Regret losing a lot of Zerglings here. And it looks like they're just going to try and kill the Zerg player outright, as Regret does have the Void Rays, but they kill things very slowly. And in the meantime, his ally shall perish, it looks like. Needs to run those drones away from the opposing units. Was trying to get out of Roach Warren, but not coming out just yet. Just continual aggression pouring out across. But behind this, Dark Menace is on 3 bases. Neutrophil adding on a command center as well. Trying to target down the pylons and do get it. Not full walling there. Will end up hurting the Archaic, and what looked like it could have been a hold, I think will narrowly turn into a loss for Kadeo, as the continued aggression just would not stop for GG Izzy. Nearly all the drones for Regret have gone down. All the probes for the Archaic as well. Dark Menace and Neutrophil looking strong with their aggression in this match thus far. There are some Roaches out now. It should be able to push back, but at this point, the economy damage has been done, and the economy for GG Izzy is just going to be so much stronger, even if Kadeo does manage to survive here. Roaches are trying to hold, really needs to get back into droning, and is doing so as best he can on 6 workers right now. But meanwhile, Dark Menace adding on a Roach Warren of his own. And Neutrophil starting to add on some Marines to deal with those Void Rays. There is a decent count of Void Rays already. 2 out, I guess. A 3rd on the way. But only 2 probes for the Archaic, who is adding on a secret 3rd Nexus. And they aren't waiting. They're not waiting to start the trash talk in the private server. They're doing it right out in front of everyone. So we've got Dark Menace emoting on his opponents. Add-ons getting thrown down for Neutrophil. A very strong lead for GG Izzy thus far. Kadeo's going to try and come out and counterattack, and I think this is really their only chance. But the army supply, man, there's just so much army. The Banelings are going to be able to annihilate the Lings. And then the Reapers and Lings and Marines should be able to clean up the rest, I think. Oh my gosh, a fantastic Baneling. How did he know? He just sent that out at the exact right time. There's only 3 Marines out, so they could deny this base, especially with that overcharge coming out. More Marines coming. But if those Roaches are able to defend, they pull back. Regret has managed to get back up to 20 drones, so macroing like a madman here thus far. The Archaic is up to 3 Nexi now, but only 8 probes. However, Neutrophil's macro, obviously, we got to remember this is his off race by a long shot. Most off race, I suppose. But the Lings are going to pour in. Dark Menace with some excellent backstabs. We see this in his 1v1s as well, and keeps it up here. It's going to kill every single probe of the Archaic once again. There's nothing to defend. There's nothing in a wall. There isn't even really a wall at this point. Roaches do come back to try and defend, but the damage has been done. The Archaic is now down to 2 probes once again. He does have 3 Nexi, so if they can somehow stabilize and survive, they may be able to bring it back, but it's going to be a tall order, especially with that exposed hatchery there, and the Roaches getting caught by the Lings. A false round does go off. Could even go in and target down that main base hatchery and may wind up doing that right here. Just going to opt for drone kills. But I think drone kills are all they really need. I think this game is all but over at this point. Hideo is staying in because they do have air units. But that's pretty much the only thing that got going for them at this point. The main base of Regret does fall, and he's left the game without a GG.
Dark Menace. Neutrophil.
All right. A fairly swift game one. They are clinging to life there, but not quite able to defend against the aggression of their opponents. Just having a unit in the wall off, I think, might have made all the difference for the Archaic there. As the Lings getting in, we're able to take out all the units. But a very well executed attack out of GG Izzy. I kind of like proxying the one barracks. You find one proxied barracks, you're like, it's not very committed. You're not too worried about it. And then you get hit by 3 Reapers at a time. So it kind of catches you off guard, catches you out, and gets some big damage done. And a good follow-up with the Ling Bane out of Dark Menace. Very clean game number 1. Game number 2 will be on Emerald City, though. It's a much more defensible map, much easier to defend on. So we'll see if GG Izzy or Hideo opt for some aggressive plays on this map as well. Will we even make it to Nightscape? Find out next time. As we're going to see double Protoss this time out of Dark Menace and Neutrophil. So Neutrophil is going to be on his main race, Dark Menace on his off race. Here we go.
You are watching FSL Season 5.
All right, in the bottom right-hand side of Emerald City LE, we have our blue Zerg player. He is
Regret.
And his ally in the purple, he is
The Archaic.
And together they are
Team Kodeo.
their opponents in the upper left, the orange Protoss player. He is
Dark Menace.
And his ally, the green Protoss. He is
Neutrophil.
Together they are
GG Izzy.
Okay, so Emerald City LE, like I said, a bit more defensible of a map. You share a main base, and the Archaic is actually cannon rushing, so hold that thought. Has gone for a Forge first. Dark Menace went for a very quick scout this game and does see the Forge, so he knows what's coming. Neutrophil scouts around for the probe and does manage to find it. But I think the Archaic almost wants this one to be found, and then the other one's going to get up the actual cannon rush. But Dark Menace is sort of looking for it. Cannons are going down already. Okay, so he has walled in the high ground, which means the Archaic absolutely has to keep this probe alive. It's not an option to lose it. He has to keep this probe up. He really should be dropping a pylon on the high ground at this point to at least have vision if it does go down, but Dark Menace does now see the cannons. Okay, pylon does drop. The cannon nearly finished. They're not going to be able to do anything about this. The Cybercore is on the way, and the cannon now finished up. And Neutrophil not targeting down the probe means he will be able to build cannons on the high ground now. But did counter make a Forge. However, the Archaic may be able to make more cannons than Neutrophil. Should probably cancel that second pylon. Does not cancel it, a little unfortunately there. And they're both dropping more and more cannons here. What is happening for the Zerg? Okay, Regret has 12 pulled or 13-12. Is going to be going for a Ling Flood with speed. Unfortunately, there is a full wall. There aren't any cannons at the full wall, so it's not the end of the world. Oh, Neutrophil's targeting the wrong cannon. He should be targeting the one that's already nearly finished. Does not target it down, though, which means I think this may go... Okay, with the Stalker, they should be able to kill the cannons, which is nice. However, that's 2 cannons that are not defending the front. There are some Stalkers out, but there's no shield batteries. There, however, are not very many Lings. So I think they may just hold this extremely easily. Okay, I see the Archaic is dropping some cannons below the ramp, though. Will he be able to get those out? There aren't any shield batteries, so if those finish up, they could be deadly against the buildings of their opponents. Needs to drop down more cannons, though. Only one is not going to help. Maybe just going to try and macro out of this, though, is Regret and the Archaic, and indeed it looks like they are, as they're starting to drop some expansions. So a little bit of a failed attack, unfortunately. Not quite able to overwhelm there. And a very good defense out of GG Izzy. They do try and come up and get us around, but unable to get much of anything done there. However, they're not as far behind as they were off the back of the all-in from their opponents in the previous game. Still not a pretty situation, but could be worse, as Stargates are now finishing up for both of GG Izzy's bases. We have an Oracle on the way for Neutrophil, and Dark Menace proxying an expansion in the upper right-hand side of the map. Third base is coming down for Regret. Just have a lot of Speedlings out, who missed an Adept moving out somehow. A little bit unfortunate. Shouldn't be able to get too much damage done, as it is a lone Adept, but we will see. Oracle now coming out as well. Void Ray is being made for GG Izzy, as a Stargate is on the way for the Archaic, but 1 Stargate versus 2 players making Stargate units is a little rough. Does manage to catch an Adept, but it shades away before it gets killed and is not chasing it down, it looks like. And the Archaic playing very carefully. He's very afraid of a counter all-in, and with the Oracle now here, it's going to be able to get a lot of damage done. There is a shield battery, which is helping to defend this. Oracle trying to find damage. He's just going to chill there, sort of forcing the probes away from mining. And I think we're just going to see a counter all-in out of GG Izzy, which should be able to just pull the win out here. Although Regret, I think, sniffs something suspicious going on. He's scouting around with his Lings. He's going to find that fully exposed base of Dark Menace, who just recalled probes over there pretty recently. They're targeting the pylon, though. Kill the probes. This will be very nice. It will kick their opponents back down to 1 base each, which means if they can survive, and with those extra shield batteries and cannons, they very well may be able to. This could get Regret and the Archaic back in the game, as they both have expansions out now. Dark Menace is desperately trying to get over to defend his probes, but they're all falling before he can get over there. And that's kicked him back down to 22 probes against the 36 drones of Regret, and it's actually not looking too bad for Kadeo after that. Completely giving up on the base, it looks like, potentially. Will send the Void Rays back, and they should be able to save that base, but it's going to be very hard to defend that base in the future, so you don't necessarily want to send probes over there to mine. It looks like it is going to just be a big all-in out of Neutrophil and Dark Menace. The Archaic not getting up into units yet, really. He's just got those cannons and batteries. If Regret can play off of the cannons and batteries defensively, that may be all they need, but it's going to be very tough here, as I think Regret overmade drones and doesn't have enough army to defend, and it looks like it's going to be potentially a very swift 2-0 for GG Izzy, as they are killing all the expansions of Regret at the moment. Only 1 Void Ray out for the Archaic against 4 for GG Izzy. Shield batteries are good, but they're not that good. Some Lings trying to make it out, but I don't know if there will be enough. And GG is called.
Dark Menace.
Good games, gentlemen. Another quick 2-0 tonight. It's been the theme of the night, 2-0s and a lot of cheeses. Let's start with Kodayo. This is your first loss in the past 2 years. What happened there, and what do you think went wrong in the first those two games?
I mean, we had a strategy prepared, but it's just strategy was a little bit more macro oriented, and then start shooting up an army. Except, you know, we didn't have a lot of units early on. It's just because we were going for a macro build, kind of, and I don't know, it just caused us to crumble in early game. So yeah,
Gotcha.
it's just that. It's kind of a comp thing with Void Rays being our only big source of damage, and Lings and Roaches not being really enough to survive against a lot of Lings. It's not very good for early game.
Gotcha. And the Archaic, you opted to go for a cannon rush there. What do you think you could have done better in that strategy in that build?
I knew he was going Forge, so I actually should have like preempted the cannon first. I didn't put the cannon in range. Just kind of fell apart after that.
Gotcha. ET, KJ, do you guys have any questions here for Kodayo?
Hey, that was yeah. Go ahead, ET.
sorry,
you
go
go
ahead.
first. Go ahead. You
Okay.
go first.
Yeah. So I guess game one, were you kind of thrown off by the sheer amount of Reapers? Because I know you scouted the one proxy barracks. Did you think that was all, or did you kind of figure he had more barracks elsewhere, or did that kind of catch you off guard with how many units he had?
We definitely knew he had stuff at home, but we just didn't know how much.
Okay. All right. I think that was my main question, KJ. You can go ahead and take it.
That was fireworks for sure. All games, we really, me observing, I just wanted to make sure I catch everything that was happening. It was insanely important, right? Every little move that happened there with the proxy barracks, the forge, the cannon rush, the ling attacks on the side, the banelings catching this. You guys, I'm hoping you guys face again in the playoffs. This is just Joseph asked this earlier, or Seth did. This is just a regular season game, so it's mostly just bragging rights. But now you kind of revealed, what we were expecting to see. So do you feel better about that, Kodeo? That like, okay, we know what's coming. We know what may come in the playoffs. You guys think that way or no?
I mean, actually, not necessarily, just because a lot of units early is not a big revealing build. I mean, because with rushes and cheeses, as you might know, can be really creative, really varied, and all of these variations, just knowing a couple doesn't really help. But I mean, it's nice to know that GG Izzy is a good team, which is kind of scouting information from before.
Got it. Did one more question? Did anything from their game against the blind leading the deaf throw you off? I mean, besides the fact it's double Terrans or whatever they did, right? And the fact that they lost 2-0. Did anything there throw you off from their previous showing?
I don't know. I kind of expected a weaker early game from GG Izzy, which is not the case. But since that's what I saw in the blind and the deaf game, but yeah, I think it was just different just because of the race matchup.
Got it. All right, that's all I had, Seth.
Thank you.
Yeah, and congratulations to GG Izzy. Now we have a three-way 2-1 records for our top three teams. But you guys will now, well, actually it depends on how the tiebreakers go. But GG Izzy, was it exactly how you guys expected it? And what did you guys think about the games?
So, yeah, despite what we said before, we did actually have a plan, and we kind of talked through everything, and everything went exactly according to plan. Like, for the first game, we were hoping to get a map where the players were separate so we could actually pull off that Reaper cheese. So that way we could kind of like coordinate which player we pick off. For game two, we were just going to try to play a little defensive Protoss and kind of go into a macro game. And I think that really paid off.
Gotcha. ET, KJ, do you guys have any questions here for GG Izzy?
I mean, it was pretty straightforward. A solid build in game one, and then just good scouting in game two to see the cannon rush coming and a good response there. I don't know that I have too many questions about it. This is the unfortunate thing when the games go so fast. I don't have time to come up with anything. Did you have anything, KJ?
Yeah, I guess the only thing is the way you handled the cannon rush, Neutrophil. I was just curious. What went through your mind? Okay, I gotta do this first, then I gotta do it next. Like, what? Why did you decide to defend with a cannon versus, like, chronoing a stalker? That's what I noticed. You didn't actually chrono the stalker.
So I was communicating with Dark Menace. I told him I would go with the cannon so that way I could also help defend the front just in case if Regret wanted to follow up with some sort of link push. So I had him chrono out the stalker and I just kind of used the cannons defensively.
Hey, that's teamwork. Okay, all right. That answers the question. That's it for me.
All right, well, congratulations, GG Izzy. We'll see you in your next game, and I think not for a bit. If we look at the schedule, you guys are not playing until April next month, and that will be against Benzel. So plenty time to prepare, and look forward to seeing you guys then. Good job, everyone. That wraps up our 2v2 match. Now we're gonna be moving on to our primetime match this evening in
Woo!
our Code S. This is gonna be, we're gonna get rid of all of the other players here except for Dark Menace. We have him stay. Actually, we need to get instability on Discord. And yeah,
Yeah. While we
have
do
her
that.
log on. While we do that, I think we might need to take a quick break while
Sure.
she
Yeah.
logs in.
Let's take a break, and we'll play the lineup again. We'll be right back, guys. They're taking too long, man. The Vipers, once it has energy, it's gonna be an issue. And you better know how to
Hydra.
see them.
Yeah.
Oh, they're gonna go right in the middle.
Yeah, the
of
lurk-
the
oh,
main
there
to
you
the
go.
lurkers. Oh no.
Viper!
Oh shoot.
Where are the Hydras? Oh, okay, the Hydras are there. I thought.
This is a choke though, so it's kind of okay for the other team, minus the Vipers. Watch the Vipers. Pay attention to that. Oh, get one of them.
It's all about control now.
Indeed.
Who's the catch?
Regret still has
Who's
not used
the-
the Vipers.
Yeah,
There's
the
the
Vipers,
first Viper
Vipers.
energy. Oh, and Four Bunnies groups them all together so they take all the damage.
Oh man.
The storm is good. Really good storm. This is about control at this point. The lurkers are killing down
The
there.
air. War
The
Bunny's
air's still
air is
good,
just
though.
superior, man.
War Bunny's air is definitely the killing blow
Yeah,
here
this
so
is,
far. Oh wow, they don't have enough anti-air. I think I see a few Hydras here and then just two Void Rays. But once they clean that up and focus on
Yeah, I
these
think
Hydras,
they'll
there's
clean
no
this up.
anti-air. War Bunnies, Regret supply is still high, but they're mostly lurkers, which can't shoot up.
Oh, I see a good counter here.
Yeah,
Nice.
this is a good counter here.
Let's
This is
go.
gonna be tough
Don't
to.
engage the air.
Yeah. Tough to spot this army here. The lift
Yeah,
off.
just force them to try to go back.
Oh,
Ooh,
more
nice
bunnies!
pick here. Oh
He's not
my gosh.
microing!
Oh,
He's not microing!
oh, he's gonna lose everything here.
Oh,
Stalkers.
man.
Oh,
He just lost it.
everything.
Oh, gosh. They had it, but they lost it.
Yeah, they had that.
They had this for sure, but War Bunny's got
Oh
left
my
alone in
gosh.
there. He's stuck there too long, and he got sandwiched. And now
Yeah.
this counter
This
attack.
is downhill for
they
them.
had this. This is definitely downhill for him here on in. Took him a long time
Oh,
to
wow.
recover, and then build up an army. There's still some army here for. All right, we're back. We're gonna end this other highlight and bring back Seth here.
Too much.
Yeah, so you guys
Yeah,
will have
looks
to
like
watch the
we're-
highlights later.
Yeah, you guys. Actually, it's available in our Facebook
Yeah, it's online.
group page.
Mhm.
Right, it's online, so you guys have those links. You can watch all of the highlights, and we have a highlight summary for each week and each day, and so they're all available there. But we're ready for our Code S match. Joined us now here, we have Instability and Dark Menace. This is a pretty good matchup I've been looking forward to. Let's start with Instability. Right now, you're the underdog. How has your practice been, and what do you think your chances are tonight against this juggernaut of a Dark Menace Zerg player?
Well, honestly, if I remember correctly, I was one of only 2 players to take a map off of him last
That is
time.
correct.
So, I don't know, I feel like I'm doing much better this season, so I think I have a pretty high chance of taking 2 this time.
Wow, I like that confidence. What about you, ET? Do you have any questions here for Instability? Any insider type of questions that we can ask her?
Yeah, so I know that like Zerg is sort of a kind of like a unicorn at this point, where it's kind of hard to find on the ladder. Have you been able to find any good practice against Zerg, or has that been a bit of a struggle for you?
Actually, I think at least half of my matches in the past few days have been Zerg, so they're not difficult to find at all.
That's good. That's good.
Okay.
KJ?
Yeah, I think ET's not seeing a whole lot of Zergs in the Masters and Grandmasters level because they've kind of given up, right, ET? until the upgrades, until the patch shows up, anyway. So, but yeah, no, that's good. Good question there. I'm glad Instability you've had some practice against Zerg, and if you can summarize what your opponent is like, if you can summarize in like 3 words, what would you say Dark Menace is? Maybe just 3 words. You can go 4 if you want.
I don't know.
Well, there you go. 3 words. I don't know. Is that right? Is that what you want to go with?
I guess I just think we kind of played the same, and I wouldn't know how to describe myself, so...
Got it. Okay, well...
Gotcha. Alright, so what about you, Dark Menace? Have you been practicing and preparing for this game? Or it's just going to be autopilot? And, I know you didn't really give a lot of answers to our last match, but, what do you think about tonight's game?
Well, I have no idea what she's gonna do, firstly, but I mean, I haven't really been practicing recently, so I'm not really sure.
Okay. What about you, ET? Do you have any questions here for Dark Menace?
Well, I mean, let's see. Yeah. Do you feel like Instability is a more formidable opponent this season around compared to how you kind of viewed her last season, or has your opinion kind of stayed the same?
I mean, yeah, definitely. I think she's a lot better than she was last season.
Okay. All right. Very cool. JJ?
Same question to you, new Dark Menace. 3 or 4 words to describe Instability.
Unstable? What am I?
Alrighty.
We're talking about her gameplay, but
Yeah, just the gameplay. She likes the macro instead. She's unpredictable, which kind of makes sense. Instability, I don't know. Okay, but that's fine. You guys still trying to figure it out. No worries.
All right. Well, this is again, like I said in the last match, it's a regular season game. It is pretty important, but not as important as it is going to be in the playoffs. And based on your trajectory, both of you are going to be in good position for the playoffs. So, but nonetheless, we're playing our regular season tonight. This is a good benchmark game for instability. And let's get this on. Any final words? Instability, Dark Menace, before we get started?
Chill each other.
Okay. Good luck, have fun. Instability?
Same.
Same. All right, let's do this. I'm going to mute and deafen you guys. We'll talk to you guys after the match. All right, muting and deafening our players. We're going to get started. Before we get started, KJ, ET, what are you guys' predictions for tonight's matchup?
I mean, it's got to be all 3 games. My heart says instability, just because I know she's been putting in a lot of practice. She's gotten a lot stronger since the previous season, so you got to feel pretty good about that, especially with assuming Dark Menace isn't lying. you got to assume she's got a lot more practice on him this time around. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm going to go 2-1 instability.
Yeah.
What about you, KJ?
I know Dark Menace says he's not practicing, but he did practice. So I'd say it's 2-1 Dark Menace's side. I'm hoping for 3 games. I'm thinking 2-1. It could be a 2-0 though, because he looks really strong. So I'm sticking with 2-0 Dark Menace.
All right, I'm actually gonna side with ET here, hoping we get 3 games, and it'll be really close in the last game. That could just go either way. I'll take instability though. So, but take it away, ET.
All right, we're in here on Glittering Ashes LE. We've got our orange Zerg player. He is
Dark Menace.
And his opponent in the lower left-hand side, the red Protoss. She is
Instability.
all right. So it's going to be a PvZ. We're starting off on Glittering Ashes. Not a map we see all too often, in the Code S in particular, I would say. A little bit rarer of a map. We do have a Hatch Gas Bullet, looks like, out of Dark Menace. Instability looking to be pretty macro-focused initially as well. Probably going to be going for an expansion. In Glittering Ashes, it's a little bit short of a map. It's not quite as bad as the other map that's shorter, whose name evades me at this current moment in time. But it is a little bit shorter of a map, so you see a lot of aggression on it a lot of times. The third base, in my experience, is a little bit tougher to defend than on some other maps, so you see some aggression based off of that. But we do have a good scout coming out of Instability. She's got her natural Nexus dropping down. Going to be getting that Cyber Core as well. A little cheese emote dropping down for Dark Menace on his ramp, as he scouted around for any sort of cannon rush, but none to be had out of Instability. We'll say I don't think we've seen a cannon rush out of Instability. I'm not sure if we've seen a cannon rush in the Code S. At least not that I can remember. Maybe Frieden has done one. But anyways, another scout around with the drone. He's very concerned about cannon rushes, which is interesting. Going to go out and try and take the third now, I guess. Yeah, he's trying to take a really fast third. The Korean third, I'd say. Instability quick on the turnaround there, but he should be able to make it over and expand. But still, delaying the expansion to the third base by 10-15 seconds. That's always nice for the Protoss. Making an Adept now is Instability. What tech structure will we see? Obviously, Stargate, the most common in ZVP at the moment. But could also be a Robo or a Twilight. But I think we're going to see a Stargate here, and indeed we do. As her natural Nexus is finishing up. Stargate now on the way, and Warp Gate coming down as well. And has confirmed 3 bases out of Dark Menace, so generally not going to be expecting any sort of attack coming out. A little bit of supply block actually hitting for Dark Menace. Somewhat unfortunately there. Has to fire up a couple extra Overlords. Ling speed almost halfway done at this point. And Instability Chrono out probes now. Stalker is going to try and catch the Overlord. It's actually going to pop at the most opportune time, but I think it may not be able to deny that Overlord. Nah, well, maybe. I think it may be able to deny the Overlord before it gets back to the high ground, but we'll see. Stargate is now done. Void Ray on the way, so this Overlord should die no matter what, even if it does make it to the high ground, which it looks like it will. Just barely one shot away from death, and it does make it. However, the Void Ray should be able to clean that up. The big question is whether or not this other Overlord gets found in the upper left. That would be very painful for Dark Menace if that gets found. Now, we do have Overlord speed on the way. 2 more assimilators coming down for instability, which oftentimes indicates a second Stargate play. It could also be some other form of tech. Void Ray will find the Overlord. Does get taken down. We do see another Void Ray on the way, but she's majorly supply blocked. Uh-oh. And no pylons even on the way. Just now starting up a pylon. Third base probe will get denied by some speedlings there. His instability moves out to try and take that base now. Overlord does retreat away. A Roach Warren on the way pretty quickly out of Dark Menace here. Could be a big assault coming out. With more and more Void Rays on the way, that may be somewhat ill-advised, but Instability really needs to get this third base going. The Lynx try to find the probe, but it does get defended by the Adepts and the Void Rays quite nicely, so well done out of Instability there. Looks like it won't be any sort of attack out of Dark Menace as he is firing up a lair now and more drones. Good creep spread coming out already. Looking to connect that third base and even get creep out to where the fourth will be soon. So very nice out of him there. A lot more drones firing up. A little bit of a painful supply block for Instability earlier there that really has set her back in this game. At this level, even those little 10, 15-second supply blocks hurt a lot. Now, she is warping in more sentries and adepts, so it looks like it is not going to be a committed Air Force, just a few Void Rays. Mostly defensively, maybe look for a little bit of harass here and there, but nothing too committed overall. As she is now dropping down a Forge and a Twilight Council, so indeed she is going to be swapping into that ground composition. A little bit rarer to see in her previous ZVPs. A lot of times she did go directly up into that air composition out of the Void Rays, so switching things up a little bit is Instability here. Continuing to probe up her bases as the third is nearly complete now. Meanwhile, Dark Menace is going for a Hydralisk Den and a Baneling Nest. This hallucination should scout both of those potentially, which is a nice scout to have. It may be a bit of an all-in attack out of Dark Menace here as he is stopping at 62 drones and starting to make units. A Lurker Den on the way, so maybe a little less committed. I'm not sure if I like that. Making this many units just to go back into droning at only 60 drones is a little unfortunate for your economy. With that Lurker Den, though, it may just be a little bit more delayed, but still an aggressive attack. We'll see as he does send out Lynx to scout, has good vision on the map. Something Dark Menace has always been quite adept at is getting that vision out on the map to know if the Protoss is moving out to attack you. Charge, +1 air and +1 ground now on the way for instability. As we will see 2 more Stargates, actually. So she's going to continue with the air swap, actually. Just getting out charge on the ground. Interesting. And a fleet beacon now on the way as well. Supplies are pretty much mirrored at this point. And Dark Menace's economy is a little bit slow here. You got to be a little critical of that. Definitely could have had up to 70 or 80 drones a little bit quicker. Especially with that Overlord speed investment, you want to be able to use that to scout to see if you need to make units. However, he is going to go for a little bit of an attack. I don't see this attack getting much damage done at all. There should be charge done and enough Void Rays to outnumber the Hydralisks just about. And they are going to crash into the main wall. Those Banelings may get wasted on that Stalker. If so, that would be very unfortunate. May even pull back after seeing this number of units out for instability. But continuing to send more Hydras across the map, he does begin to pull back. I like that choice. I hope he sticks with it. I think an attack here would be ill-fated as the 4th base does go down for instability. Forge now on the way, and carriers starting to be made. 3 carriers on the way. Would like to see those bad boys get chrono boosted. And I think they are being chrono boosted after all. Continuing to make more and more probes, and this is looking to be pretty even thus far. +2 ground now on the way. We'll say late upgrades for Dark Menace, quite late. His economy is now booming, so that is good. We'll have a lot of income there. Going to be able to make a lot of Hydro Bane. And with the Infestation Pit on the way, we'll be able to get his Hive up as well. But the upgrade's definitely a little bit slow there. Instability's got some crisp timing on hers. His +2/+2 is now on the way. First 3 carriers going to pop shortly. And that 4th base nearly completed as the 5th does finish up for Dark Menace. So a pretty even parity overall out of both players. First 3 carriers are out. It's really once you get up to 6+ carriers that they start to really carry their weight. But 10 Corruptors already on the way for Dark Menace, so perhaps anticipating the carrier switch. With the Void Rays that are already out for instability, though, they should be able to deal with the Corruptors fairly well in low numbers. 3 more carriers now coming down. 4th base is fully saturated already. And a lot of charge lots on the ground. Immortals coming out as well. There's only a few Banelings out thus far, so if those don't manage to deal good enough damage to the Zealots, they may be able to clear out the Hydralisks behind. Especially with the +2 upgrades nearly finished, and 1-1 still has not started for Dark Menace. This is a big mistake out of him at this point. Could easily have 1-1 done and 2-2 well on the way. No air upgrades as well, and that may come back to bite him in a major way. Especially his +2/+2 should finish up before any sort of attack he goes for. I think he's forgotten he made his Evo Chambers, and he's making 2 more of them to make his upgrades. As I don't see any Vipers coming out, so I don't think he needs those as Viper batteries or anything like that. 5th base is on the way. There are shield batteries, but not a whole lot of them in the 3rd and the Nat. She's put a lot more defense at the 4th base and does not have a whole lot of vision spotters out. This is something we've seen as a weak point for instability in the past, of just not enough spotting units out on the map. Viper is now coming down. And Dark Menace is going to try and catch instability out when she moves out to save this base. I'm not sure if he has enough units to catch her out, though. Instability wisely splitting off just a few units. Needs to cancel that base. Does cancel it, and we'll be able to clean up a lot of Zerglings here. These are +2 Zealots against 0-0 upgraded Lings, which is not insignificant. Does dive in on the army with the Hydra Bane Corruptor, which is trying to target down the carriers. Needs to overcharge those Void Rays and target down the Corruptors, but all the Corruptors are falling, actually, and does he even get a single carrier? I'm not sure that he did. He did get 1 carrier, but 13 Corruptors and 14 Hydras falling for it. A lot of Zerglings as well. Will deny the 5th base, but the 5th base is the least of Instability's concerns, as she has 3,000 minerals and almost 2,000 gas behind that. Mothership well on the way. 3 more carriers firing up. Nope, going to go into Void Rays now. Smartly anticipating the 23 Corruptors coming out for Dark Menace, who has managed to get out a Viper or 2. So Parasitic Bombs will be helpful against those Corruptors. Definitely need to see high Templar tech coming down for instability in the near future for those feedbacks and storms. Mothership nearly complete, though. Has a good bank of 5 carriers. Going to be pumping out more and more Void Rays and retaking that 5th base. A good fight for instability overall, as she's traded 3-1 in resources at this point. But he's got to keep this rolling for sure. Once again, though, the upgrades. Dark Menace has 0-0 on every single unit, and +3/+3 is going to be done for instability before 1-1 is done for Dark Menace, which is very unfortunate. He's making a lot of Vipers, but I mean, you really don't want to see +3 Void Rays against unupgraded Corruptors. It's not a pretty sight. All right, we do finally see +1 air coming down for Dark Menace, which is nice, but it's definitely quite late here. It's really going to come down to the spell casting for him here if he wants to be able to win any fights. The creep spread is looking very strong, I will say. Instability has not done really anything to attempt to deny that. And so it's spread quite far. 5th base is finished up now, adding on lots of shield batteries and cannons, and she's sort of just sitting back. Really needs to add on a Templar Archives. She actually has a Templar Archives. I stand corrected. Just no Storm and no Archons and no High Templar out yet. And if your opponent uses spellcasters and you don't, you generally lose. You really need to get those spellcasters in there. Obviously, she does have sentries, but those aren't quite as important as those all-important, really, High Templar. She's looking to move out, but so is Dark Menace, and he's got Vipers out. Oh, but they're going to get caught! Instability does manage. Oh, she leaves him, lets him get away, but does know the Vipers are out now. That's helpful for her to know. The cloak of the Mothership actually saves her Void Rays from the parasitic bombs there initially. And is now moving across the map, clearing out a bunch of that creep. And man, let me tell you, as a Zerg, there's nothing more heartbreaking than spending 13 minutes of the game covering the entire map in creep just for the Protoss to take 30 seconds to get rid of every last bit of it. Big parasitic bombs coming down. Every single Viper casts their spells, and a lot of damage going down on Instability's army, but a lot of damage happening in the reverse. The carriers stand strong, all the Corruptors fall, and the Immortals stand tall on the ground. Almost all of the Vipers have gone down. The last two straggling around may get killed as well, and Instability. I think Dark Menace has gotten Protossed in this game. Instability looking very strong. 17 more Corruptors and 20 Hydras on the way. But against this number of carriers and Void Rays, and once again, that +3 ground weapons, +3 air, just about to finish up. Only +1 air for the army of Dark Menace. Another big parasitic bomb does come down, and that's helpful. He actually doesn't have detection, so his army has to kill the Mothership first before being able to fight. A recall does happen, so we will be able to clean up a lot of this army. Only one carrier actually gets killed, and 37 drones fall. Instability has a massive bank behind this, can warp in Zealots. High Templar and make Archons, can make more Void Rays and carriers, and has all those shield batteries and cannons on the other side of the map. Dark Menace with no strong economy anymore and no bank. He does have 50 drones, so he's not dead, but definitely does not have the best economy he could have. And that upgrade advantage standing tall and strong for Instability in this game. +3/+3 now finished up. +1 air armor now on the way for Dark Menace. +2 ground armor on the way for Instability, who is now warping in High Templar, so that's what we like to see. Even without storms, High Templar are very useful for feedbacks. They can turn into Archons, which absolutely annihilate Corruptors. We do have Lurkers on the way now, which is helpful, but there's actually 5 Immortals out on the map, so as long as there's detection, those Lurkers are not going to be long for this world. A 6th base being added on for Instability. She's playing it like a Zerg. This massive bank. New Mothership on the way. 3 more carriers. And I think Dark Menace is struggling a little bit to try and find a composition here. He's not remade Vipers now this time, which I think were the only thing that even caused him to survive previously, as they did deal a lot of damage to the Void Rays, forcing Instability to draw back eventually. But obviously, losing, I think, 7 Vipers, was it? 6 Vipers, that's 1,200 Vespene gas. That's, very significant. So I can't necessarily blame him for not wanting to spend the money to remake those. Does see the 6th base for Instability now, but now there's a big swath of creep that has been cut out of the middle of the map, which will be another attack avenue available for Instability now in the future. I'd definitely like to see her be a little bit more active with her army, clearing out those tumors, but doesn't want to leave her army out like she did in her previous series against Dark Menace and get them caught and killed while she's not paying attention. So I respect that as well. Storm now coming in, and +2/+2 armor on the way. I mean, the upgrade advantage is just going to continue for Instability, as it's only single Spire upgrades for Dark Menace. No upgrades out of his 4 Evo chambers. Does he have... Oh, and he does not have Lurker upgrades either, so he does not have the Seismic Spines to increase their attack range, which is big against Immortals. It allows you to start getting that damage in before the Immortals can start ripping the Lurkers apart. I like this, the Void Rays, the fast units kind of moving out across the map and denying creep. Do gotta complain a little bit that she still doesn't have Flux Veins. It's kind of a must for Void Rays nowadays. That extra speed makes them so much better at surviving against the army of the Zerg. Dark Menace has remade a single Viper. I think 2 or 3 Vipers is probably the max. 6 Vipers isn't really for Blinding Cloud, isn't really for Parasitic Bomb, it's for Abduct. And it doesn't look like Dark Menace really wants to go for the Abduct strategies in this game. He wants to go for the Parasitic Bomb strategy in this game. And so 2 or 3 will definitely get you enough Parasitic Bombs to cover the army of the Protoss without also investing a ton of supply and money into them. So I like that choice. Just 2 or 3, I think, is exactly what you want to go for. Both players are maxed out, though. But Instability's maxed out on a much better army. 9 Void Rays, 5 Carriers, 5 Immortals, 5 High Templar, and a Mothership against 20 Corruptors and 7 Hydralisks, plus some Lurkers and a Viper. I would say definitely advantage to the Protoss compositionally thus far. Adding on more and more bases instability, playing this incredibly passively. Dark Menace does find the base right as it's taken, will be able to deny it, maybe even, nope, will get the cancel, does instability, so very nice for her there. Trying to get up cannons and stuff to protect the bases. Does manage to defend the pylons, so should be able to remake those cannons very quickly. And just continuing to add on to that massive bank. Now here's the thing. She's added on to her massive bank, but she hasn't added on production. She's still only at 8 gateways and 4 stargates. That's not enough to remax quickly. I'd say at this point you want at least 7 stargates and somewhere between 12 and 14 gateways. So you got to be able to utilize that bank to remax if you do lose a fight. Otherwise, you're just going to die with a whole lot of stuff in the bank. We do have +3/+3 armor on the way now. +3 attack now on the way for Dark Menace, so I like that. He is catching up in the upgrades, which is nice. Instability perhaps playing too passively at this point. Should definitely be getting Dark Shrine, maybe starting to look for some run-by potential, splitting the army apart, things like that. But Dark Menace, he's looking for the damage. Will lose a lot of these Zerglings here, it looks like, as he does try to kill some of the cannons. Instability does find the Morphing Banelings as well. And Dark Menace's army, I like that he's trying to throw away the Lings. He's trying to add on more sophisticated units while getting some damage with the Lings. And Instability, allowing that, I think is somewhat of a mistake. You kind of got to get some stuff done on the other side of the map, man. Especially with those 5 full energy High Templar. That's 5 feedbacks and 10 storms available there. We'll start denying some of the creep, at least. I think that's at minimum what you got to be doing at this point. Deny the map vision of Dark Menace. Make him more uncomfortable on the map. 1 Zealot is actually wreaking havoc, or maybe it's 2, on one of the bases of Dark Menace in the middle right. We've got 5 drones down now. The drones actually managed to fight back and kill the Zealot at the end of the day, so that's nice for them. I like the changelings out for Dark Menace. Who is building up a bank now, and Instability's really kind of allowed that unnecessarily, I gotta say. I think she really could have leveraged the advantage from that initial attack to continue pushing after she'd remaxed, but sitting back a little bit too long, I gotta say. And what really is she gaining for herself at this point? She's already got the bank lead. She's already got the upgrade lead. She's really not giving herself anything here. Except allowing Dark Menace to build up his own bank and his own upgrades. We'll be able to deny more and more creep spread, which is good. Could even deny that base in the top left. Maybe could even push in and fight this base here. Big parasitic bombs come in. Will we see splits? We need to see splits. Oh my gosh, split. Oh no. Big damage. No Void Rays go down, and there's only 1 parasitic bomb left, I think. But Instability leaves almost all of her High Templar behind. Oh, a big storm on the Corruptors. Will it be enough, though? The Void Ray's got to turn on their beams. I think we'll be able to kill the Corruptors anyways. Does indeed manage to do so. Needs to split the Void Rays. Oh, tries to split. Not quite able to, but I don't think it's going to matter. 88 Lings on the way. But there's still a lot of Void Rays out. There's still some Storm available. We'll be able to get taken out by the Lings of Dark Menace, I think, which is nice for him. Does recall yet again. Cast those Storms! Oh no! And rip in peace. It's actually kind of funny how long it took those Lings with the full surround to kill 2 High Templar, because they have 0 upgrades and the High Templar have 3 armor upgrades. I think that's the slowest Ling kill of a High Templar I've ever seen. Nonetheless, Dark Menace is remaxed, and once again, Instability does not have the buildings to remax. She's still only got 4 Stargates, a Robo, and 8 Gateways. That's not a lot. She's not built up her infrastructure in the late game here. Is making 4 carriers at a time, which is not insignificant, but it could definitely be a lot more than it is, and that's why she's down 30 supply right now. But I don't think Dark Menace can push in. You can't exactly bank on your opponent not having enough production at this point in the game. You don't want to throw because of that. And I will say that did cost Dark Menace his entire bank, and it did not cost Instability her entire bank. So, not the end of the world. 8 more Zealots warping in. There is no splash damage on the ground for this army, and that's a lot of Zealots against unupgraded Lings and unupgraded Hydras. He still has not made a single ground upgrade in this game so far, has Dark Menace. Which I think is possibly going to be the difference between winning and losing here. As 0-0 Hydras against 3-3 Zealots and 3-3 Carriers is disgustingly bad for the Hydralisks, and the Lings are even worse, really. Especially when you've got Storm in the mix at this point, and Carriers. I mean, this is just not looking great for Dark Menace, purely because of the upgrades, really. Instability could be splitting off some Zealots to the top left of the map. Would really like to see that. It'd be pretty much a free denial on that base, but keeping all of her units together instead. Dark Menace actually the one who's going to be splitting his units apart. Trying to backstab into that top left, but Instability, she doesn't need to get that base up really yet. She's got 12k, 9k at this point. She could remax another 2 times, basically. As her army value currently is 8k, 3k. So yeah, pretty close to 2 remaxes worth of money. And that's if she were to lose literally every single unit in her army twice. Dark Menace does not quite have that luxury. And really can't even be losing these Hydras, honestly. Can't even afford that, as Instability just splits off some Zealots, sends the rest of her army back down. I mean, the Lings are not even trading that great against cannons at this point, because again, they don't have their upgrades. They don't even have adrenal glands. That's the word. And look at that. I mean, look at the Lings against the probes. They're barely even killing the probes. I've never seen this. I think this might be the first time I've ever seen probes like just hardcore tanking it against Lings. This is like the longest game I've seen without a single ground upgrade for the Zerg. He does have air upgrades, but at this point he's pretty much switched into a ground composition. He does have 20 Corruptors. I guess he lost a lot of the Hydras, so he was able to switch into Corruptors, which is nice. But at this point, he can't even kill the Zealots now. And they're going to be able to just pour into his bases, I think. As it's pretty much just Corruptor Ling, and without upgrades on the Lings. He does have Lurkers, but they're not burrowed at the moment, and they don't even have their burrowed upgrades. So even when they do burrow, they're going to get annihilated by Ling Immortal, honestly. I mean, look at this fight. Normally, these Lings win this. Instead, they get decimated. Oh my gosh. That was an utter annihilation. That's crazy. Okay, well, the Lurkers will be able to come in and defend against this with no detection. The Zealots will have to retreat. But I mean, the Zealots should just outrun the Lurkers, and then they can kill the Lings. And Corruptors, not notoriously not great against Zealots, I gotta say. And I think really it's going to be the lack of the ground upgrades is going to kill Dark Menace. I think he had a very good chance in this game if he just made upgrades. Seismic Signs now completing, so I think he's somewhat realized his mistake. But still no ground upgrades on the way. Just Seismic Spines, which is not going to be enough on its own, as the Zealots and the Carrier army splitting apart and just tearing Dark Menace to pieces, really. I just don't see a way to victory at this point for Dark Menace. He's waited a little bit too long in his upgrades. Instability has detection. She's pushing in on the Lurkers now. And even with a massive Parasitic Bomb, which this will be massive, I don't think that's going to be enough. I mean, he can kill this whole air army, but then what are you going to do? He doesn't have the money, and I don't think he's even going to kill the air army here, as Void Rays are pretty good once they have 3-3, and indeed, Instability, I think, will be taking this game. Whew. And for reference, I checked. Instability lost 30,000 resources that game, and Dark Menace lost 68,000. Over twice as many resources, and I think that almost entirely can be chalked up to the lack of upgrades in that game. Very unfortunate for him there. Okay. Wow. We'll have to see what happens in game number 2. I imagine that we'll see some upgrades out of Dark Menace if we get another late game, because holy cow, those are the toughest stinking zealots I've ever seen in my life. All right. Well, I think we are pretty much ready. We're just getting in. It's going to be 2,000 atmospheres for game 2, which is another fairly macro-focused map. I'd say even more so than Glittering Ashes. So very nice there. And we are going to load into 2,000 atmospheres. Here we go.
You are watching FSL Season 5.
All right. We are here in the bottom left-hand side of 2,000 atmospheres LE. It is our orange Zerg player. He is
Dark Menace.
And his opponent in the upper right, the red Protoss. She is
Instability.
And, you know, you got to be feeling good as Instability from that last game. I'm sure there's the nerves of like, well, man, I took a game off him last season, and everyone is saying I've improved. So if I don't take a game off of him this season, that's going to look really bad. So that's probably a weight off the shoulders of knowing that, hey, you know what? I at least matched my performance. Dark Menace here, we got to see what he does to adjust. Thus far, it's going to be another normal expansion. I imagine the main adjustment we'll see probably is upgrades. Probably. We'll see, though. As we do have Instability, looks like it's going to be going relatively macro-focused as well. We do indeed have a hatch gas pool. So 2,000 atmospheres, obviously. Pretty big map, pretty macro-focused. You see a lot of split map scenarios in this map. That we'll see split map here. Well, since it's Instability, if anything, we'll probably see base trade scenario. As, every game of this season I can remember on this map for her has gone into a base trade. We'll see if that happens again, but probably not, since it's ZVP, not TVP. Nexus does go down. Going to be a Cybercore following that up shortly. Or maybe not so shortly. Oh, trying to figure out the wall on the map, I think, was Instability. We do have the hatch gas pulled down now. Another quick third base out of Dark Menace here. As the second pylon does drop in the main base of Instability. So we really kind of want to see here now is what tech does Instability opt for once that Cybernetics core finishes up? Will it be another Stargate? Will it be a robotics facility, a Twilight Council? Will there be any switch-ups from her, as Dark Menace build thus far looks pretty much identical, with the one difference of actually getting his third down, but that's not much of a difference. Cybercore does finish up. She's chronoing out a Stalker this time. Previously, she just got an Adept and is getting a second Gateway, so going big on the Scout Denial this time around. Dark Menace, though, he is getting a second Overlord across the map. A robotics facility on the way out for Instability. Should be able to push that first Overlord back. The robotics facility in a little bit of an exposed spot for a scout from the other Overlords. We'll see if that does manage to see what's going on. As it looks like it's going to be a little bit of an aggressive build out of Instability. She is continuing to probe. She does have 2 gases in her main base. As the Robo approaches finishing, adding on more gateways now, is Instability. Now has an Adept in the wall off as well. We gotta see, because Dark Menace may not go in for a scout until his Overlord speed is done, and it looks like Instability is gearing up for an attack pretty soon, so that may be a little bit too late to see what's coming. Warp Prism. Oh, not a Warp Prism. Okay, another gateway, another 2 gateways. Okay, so it looks like going up to 6 gateways is now coming in with the Overlord is Dark Menace, as Pneumatized Carapace going to finish up in the next 10 seconds. Warp Prism already on the way. Oh, wait, nope. Canceled. Soon to be on the way. Maybe not. eventually going to be on the way for Instability, who now just cancels all of her gateways. Okay, so she's just giving up on the attack, I guess. Dark Menace scouted it, so she's given up. I think that's a big mistake. I think she would have absolutely killed him here. He was not remotely ready for that. As gonna switch into a Stargate instead is Instability. A little bit unfortunate there. Just because it's scouted does not mean it's not going to work. And as it turns out, as there were no units out, the Roach Warren still wouldn't be finished up, and that War Prism could be on the other side of the map right now. No third base now, though. No real tech for Instability. I gotta question why you'd pull out there. I think the build had a lot of potential. Stargate will be finishing up. An Observer is now on the way, so should be able to get some scouting at least. Did Dark Menace see the cancels on those gateways? He did. So he saw the gateways get canceled. He should know that the attack is not coming after all. But is making a good number of lings and has actually paused on 36 drones. So maybe we'll just counter all in with roaches. If he does that, that could go really poorly for him. Okay, there we go. 16 drones. Okay, just a supply block. That's all. Good. I was going to say, with the Stargate coming out and Immortals already out, that would be very bad. Instability is looking to take a third base, but it's late. 5:30 is a pretty late timing to try and take an expansion. Does deny the scout into the main base. Now dropping a robotics bay, so maybe going to go into Colossi, getting a Void Ray to deny scouting. Could also be Disruptors technically, but I'd be more expected to see Colossi. Dark Menace is getting upgrades. 1-1 already on the way for his Ling Bane. And it looks like it's going to be a bit of Ling Bane Ravager this game round. Which actually shapes up pretty well against Colossi. If Instability does opt for those. Third base. Over halfway done for Instability now. Roach Speed on the way. Could be going for a big attack as no fourth base is on the way for Dark Menace. We do have a Colossus on the way. The Void Ray was made, but it's not anywhere in the main base to actually deny the scouting. So Dark Menace will get a full informational scout off. Instability should be able to have a Colossus out before this attack, which is coming, I do believe. Fourth base is on the way. Hydrogen is on the way, but it's like... it's a little bit slow. Instability does scout the army, which may prompt Dark Menace to not attack after all. Nah, it looks like he's still going to go in for it. And Instability has no shield batteries. Playing a little sloppily here, I think. Very thrown off her build with that quick scout out of Dark Menace. And not quite sure where to take it now. She does have a Colossus out, a second one on the way. If she can get two Colossi out and a shield battery or two before this attack comes in, that would be nice. But I think Dark Menace is getting ready to pull the trigger. Roach Speed is nearly done. 1-1, nearly done as well. The Void Ray does see the attack now. Will Instability react? She's not looking! No. Okay, shield. Force fields do come in. Baneling's mostly exploding on Immortals, which is nice for the Roaches, but I think Instability will actually hold here. As Dark Menace, yeah, explodes the Banelings on the Sentries, which is good, but then the Immortals just standing strong with that Colossus as well. Obviously, I think this comes out fairly even overall, as Dark Menace does have a fourth base and his tech coming up behind this, but a good hold for Instability nonetheless, and now with a pretty even worker count, he's got to be feeling fairly good about that. Unfortunately, however, she's floating a ton of money and not making more infrastructure. Once again, stuck on 4 gateways, needs to add on extra production. Something we see a lot out of her in these scrappy games. She kind of forgets how to make buildings. So hopefully she kind of picks that up quickly and can start getting her production back up, as Colossi are nice, but if they're all you're making, it's not going to work out too great for you most of the time. Hydra Tech is now out. Lurkers morphing as well. Another 18 drones coming down. We'll go up to 80 drones at this point for Dark Menace. He does have 1-1 upgrades against the +1 of Instability, just about to finish up. Hydra Speed on the way. We do have a Templar Archives coming down for Instability as well. Popping out 3 probes at a time. Does have triple Colossus at this point. Just about. Some High Templar coming in, potentially for Archons. Yep, Archon morphs to deal with those Banelings, so that's a pretty good choice there. Fourth base now going to be starting for instability as well. And we desperately need to see more gateways. She's still only at 4. You need to have at least 8 at this point to be able to keep up with your production. But I get the distinct feeling we might not see those anytime soon. Dark Menace clearing out the rocks is a good choice here. Making sure he has lots of room to maneuver, starting to push that creep spread out real far on the map like he did in the previous game. And if you don't have Sky Toss, then that creep is even more important to deny. And we're not really seeing any denial yet out of Instability, who is continuing to pump Immortals now, +2 attack on the way. It's starting to add on more gateways, but only 2 more really should be adding on a lot more than that. However, Dark Menace is looking to come out and attack. I think Dark Menace is very scared of the late game against Instability. Just about every time he's let her roam free in games, in the past series and this series, has wound up in a loss for him. So trying to get on top of things. I think Instability sort of sensed that something fishy is going on here with this Ling stab out of Dark Menace. Does have charge on the Zealots, and we'll be able to clear out those Lings, but now she's going to try and swing back around. The Lings try to make it in. There's only like 3 Lurkers, and they aren't burrowing very quickly as well. They're going to get caught out. The Immortals clear out all of the Lurkers already. Oh, more of them trying to run in, but they're running right past the Immortals. Oh, that's so unfortunate. There isn't detection there. Okay, the cannons do finish up, and I think Instability is just going to annihilate this attack out of Dark Menace once again. And indeed, she does. Another great hold out of Instability in this game. She's now up 20 supplies. Should push. Might push. I'd say should push, but at the same time, she only has 6 gateways. That's not a whole lot of reinforcement power behind this army. She will move out, and with Dark Menace making pretty much pure Ling Bane against 3 Colossus and 4 Immortals and 3 Archons, that's actually not a very good composition to use here. I think the Roach Ravager Ling Bane would have worked out a little bit better for him compositionally. The Banelings get caught out as they're trying to run across, so they do move in. Do manage to soften up a bunch of the Archons and kill one of them, but I'm just not sure there's enough here. A big bank for Dark Menace, but he just can't spend it. Instability continuing to warp in more and more Archons, killing the 4th base of Dark Menace. He is still on 4th, that 5th base up. But even killing some of the units before they can make it out of their eggs now is Instability, and Hydralisks just are so bad against Colossi. An ill-fated attack, and GG.
Wow, GG. An impressive win there by Instability. I think we all got it wrong. Although we did, ET and I picked Instability to win, but we thought it was going to go to 3 games, 2-1. But she proved us wrong with a 2-0 sweep there. Good job. But let's start with Dark Menace. So, on game 1, I think went really long. And I think the biggest downfall was the fact that you didn't get any ground upgrades. Right, even the probes were faring well against the Lynx. Did you just forget about the upgrades for the ground units, even though you had 4 evos? What happened there?
It's not really that I forgot. It just whenever I did, I didn't either have enough money or I spent it on units.
Gotcha. And then that was a classic Sky Toss composition with some ground units there. From my observation in the previous seasons in FSL, I think that's been your Achilles heel, is a really dominating Sky Toss force. What do you think, and how do you feel about facing against Sky Toss in general?
I mean, to be honest, I'm not that great against it, cause usually the games don't go long enough for them to get to Sky Toss. But I mean, I don't really know. I just always lose to it, so yeah.
Gotcha. ET, do you have any questions here for Dark Menace?
Yeah, so did you, I guess, Instability wound up canceling all those gateways she was dropping in game number 2. Did you actually notice that she'd canceled a lot of the gateways in the main base? It felt like you continued kind of playing against an all-in for a little while after that. Did it just not, like, were you already back at your base by the time she canceled those?
I mean, I already left, so I had no idea.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think that was my main question then.
AJ, do you have any questions?
Yeah, so you said you forgot upgrades, or no, you didn't forget. When you tried to do it, you didn't have the money or something, but you did have the money, so I think you'll probably review because you were kind of rich, so I think that was a good summary from ET of how the game was really. Before we even get to the sky toss problem, right? That's like a universal Zerg problem. I don't know about you, ET, but I have a hard time dealing with sky toss and Zerg, right? So we feel you there, but I think even with the sky toss problem, I would review the upgrade thing. So things happen, right? Do you think that's what really happened? You thought you didn't have the money, or you just didn't think about it? I mean, it's a vague question. What do you think?
I mean, in my opinion, that's not really it. I think I could have won on numerous occasions. I just had bad execution and took bad fights.
Okay, and then game 2, um, you saw her cancel all those gateways, but then you still made a spine and got really scared, right? So, just curious about that one. Why you did that?
I actually didn't see it, so no, that's not why.
No, you saw. I thought you saw her cancel the gateways, because you didn't see it
I
on your
think it was
overlord.
like the tail end of the Overlord leaving, so you're probably not checking back after that.
Oh, he didn't look that he sees that. Oh, it's not even there. Okay, I see. So it is in his past vision, but he never looked. Okay, so all right. Do you think you were sharp? Because it didn't seem like you were sharp in this game at all. In the 2 games, what do you think? I mean, you looked okay in the first game minus the upgrades, but it didn't look like you were sharp in the second game. Do you agree with that assessment, or you just were you tilted after game 1?
Like I had terrible starts. I kept on making mistakes, like messing up my drone splits and stuff like that. So it just kind of threw me off the entire game.
All right.
Gotcha. Well, good games, and congratulations. Instability, I think this is your biggest win in your FSL career, and I think it's well deserved. My question is game number 1. I noticed that you eventually you got to about 12k, 6k gas bank, but you had a big advantage, you had a big force. I think the only thing lacking was just infrastructure, but you were kind of hesitant on finishing it off. Did you know how far ahead you were in the mid game, or are you just making sure, all right, I cannot lose this game, I just want to take it nice and easy and slow?
Yeah, I guess I was just really afraid of losing my army because it's kind of really difficult to remax that sort of army, and with Zerg remaxes, I'm like what I'm saying is you can't really lose your army, or they'll just remax and kill you even if you killed their army. So like
Gotcha.
I didn't know I was ahead at all, but I was really afraid of losing.
Yeah, I think it looked like you were passive, but I mean, it's the right call to make sure you don't lose, and you just took it nice and easy. And eventually wore down Dark Menace. But I think ET harped on it a lot in the games there. I think just adding more production structures will help you out remax. But game number 2, walk us through the mindset or what's going through your head. What that once you got scouted, you pulled the plug on this how many 8 gates or so? What happened there? Walk us through what was going on.
Um, well, I was like, oh, I guess I have to cancel the gates now, and then I realized I have no tech and I didn't have a game plan at all, and my Stargate would have been super late, so I've been wanting to switch into, ground toss for a while now anyway, so it was nice to be able to use that. I wasn't going to because I was afraid it wouldn't really work out, but yeah, I thought I was gonna lose for sure because I had no plan going into that at all.
Yeah, I mean, it worked out on Dark Menace's attack there in the mid game. I think he had his lurkers kind of split up. 3 went on the right, 3 went on the left, and didn't burrow in time. And after you won that fight, it was downhill for Dark Menace. But congratulations on this really well-deserved win. Looks like you've been practicing and it's paying off. ET, do you have any questions here for Instability?
I mean, very well done overall. I think game one looked very strong. Game two, obviously, you're like, you got your all in going, and then it gets scouted, and then you're like, well, I have no idea what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. But you managed to pull it out with some good defense there. I feel like you have really strong defense in ZVP in particular. So very well done there. I guess like I felt like from your shoes in that game one, was the creep spread pretty daunting? I guess in both games, really, it felt like it was already to your side of the map by the time you even thought about moving out. Was that like, well, holy cow, when you tried to move out and there's just creep everywhere?
Yeah, it definitely was. I mean, I haven't really been super great at clearing creep ever since I lost like 6 carriers AFKing them in the middle of the map, so that is a problem for me.
Right, and you're like, never again. All right, well, fair enough. Yeah, I think that's all the questions I had. KJ, did you have anything to round us off?
Yeah, so, winning nicely in game one with Sky Toss, how come you didn't go back to that, or you just wanted to try an all-in build for game two?
Yeah, I wanted to switch things up. Honestly, I feel kind of terrible for playing Sky Toss, so if there's anything I can do to like give the Zerg a little bit of relief, I guess. I want to do it without definitely losing.
Interesting. And who is your favorite pro player as a Protoss?
Max packs.
Oh, there you go. It's Team Storm. There you go. Nice.
All right, well, congratulations. And with that victory, I think it vaults you to #1 seed. Although Freedom is still 3-0, but you do have 4 wins. Nobody else has 4 wins. And congratulations. And we'll look forward to your future games.
Yeah, good job. See you guys later.
All right, so that marks our midpoint
Yeah.
of the season. We're halfway in, and then we have halfway to go. And actually, it gets a lot of storyline. Gets really interesting here from the
Did you
rest of our
update
schedule.
the standings? Let's take a quick look.
Yeah,
All right.
I updated it. So to quick summary, we started off with a Code A game tonight, and with that victory by The Archaic, he's still undefeated at 3-0. A Little Reaper does have 4 victories already, but I think The Archaic has a driver's seat here. We're gonna have a big game between The Archaic and Criminal almost around the end of the season. Actually, no, it's gonna come up sooner than I thought because I had to reschedule it. So that's gonna be in 2 weeks, Criminal and The Archaic. So that's gonna be a big game. But if we look at that standing, Little Reaper, The Archaic, Criminal, and Stu Blue is still in the 4th seat because actually, take a look. I think I didn't update his part of it. So, but yeah, we'll update that before I start making any changes here. And then 2v2 victory there by DG Izzy, pretty convincing 2-0. I'm really interested to see them rematch in the playoffs, but that won't be for a while. So in the meantime, the bragging rights belong to GG Izzy for the next couple of months. And then finally here, Code S, Instability. Wow, that was an impressive victory. 4-1.
Yeah, I said this before, right? If she wins, she's my #1 or #2 player, right? She has to face Neutrophil still first. However, she did play really well. I'm really impressed with how she is. I think in my mind, she is at #4 level, but she's obviously playing at #1 or 2 level right now, right? On the other hand, I think Dark Menace actually played, below his usual level. I think he might have gotten tilted with the Sky Toss thing, but Instability gave the mercy and not use Sky Toss again. So he actually could have won that second game and probably had a nice spot with 6 lurkers at the when he went to the right side, but 3 of them went the wrong way, and 6 lurkers doing that with the ground support, you can certainly win that, and then it'll just
Yeah.
be downhill from there. So that's an execution thing. He did mention that, but other than that, I didn't think he played his normal top level. But it is the regular season, so it just shows how good instability is. So this is going to be really good playoffs. If I had to judge right now, I would say Neutrophil, Instability, Dark Menace are 1, 2, and 3. I don't put myself anywhere near that because I can't beat any of those two. So, based on the law of what is that? The transient property rule.
Transitive property. Yeah,
Transitive property rule. I don't see myself beating Instability, but we'll see how that goes. May need to practice really hard. Those are my rankings on the Code S level. But yeah, it's really good to see that she's improved quite a bit. That I think last year she barely didn't make the playoffs, and now I think she's one of the favorites to be there. So
Yeah, definitely. The one thing I would say though is, she was taking the foot off the gas, but in these games,
I
you
gotta
gotta,
watch out.
you
Yeah.
gotta keep going, right? I mean, I remember when I played Dark Menace, and whenever I'm Protoss, I always tell myself, I'm going air toss. You're gonna have to stop it for me to do something else.
Yeah.
Right? And so, when you get to the playoffs and you face Dark Menace, you gotta keep that foot on the pedal. Right?
Yeah, she didn't take off her foot off the pedal on game 2 for sure though, because as soon as she killed the army, if she had let him remax, he had the
definitely.
money, he had the expansions, he had the creep spread, he would come up with the right army, and then so she did the right thing there. She went back and go, you know what, you traded away all your army, let me go get you, right?
Yeah,
So
like what you mentioned, I think there was that execution on the engagement where Dark Menace kind of split up his army. But if he kept the lurkers together and kept them a little bit far back to do all that damage, he might have turned that battle the other way. And,
oh,
we
absolutely.
would be casting game number 3 right now, right?
Yeah, we're all hoping for a game 3, but we didn't
Yeah,
get that.
so-
But it's good to see her 2-0 though. I mean, honestly, it's a
that's good.
statement match for her.
Yeah, so yeah, ET, any comments in the games tonight? Any thoughts?
So I mean, obviously, I think one big thing in game 2 as well was Dark Menace had a bit of an anti-timing. His lurker burrow speed actually hit halfway through the fight.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Because it was funny. The first 3 lurkers burrowed really slowly, but then those second set of 3 that like ran through the middle of her army actually had fast burrows. They actually got more damage than the first 3. But I think the big thing for instability, from what I've seen overall, I think she really struggles against random players more than anything else. I think she's really strong against all 3 races, but I've noticed that particularly against Neutrophil and Frieden, she really struggles, and it's just because she's not as good at adjusting on the fly like that.
Oh,
So I
I
think that's
see.
something she really needs to work on.
Yeah, that's a very good point. The other thing is game 1. You don't really know how that would be if Dark Menace was upgrading, right?
Very
Because
true.
without the upgrades, the game lasted that long. But then again, she didn't have the killer instinct either to just finish him off after that
Yeah,
big decisive battle. So the good thing is, I want to add one more thing, is we're talking about minutia of things for games to turn, right? And that's how good these matchups are, I think, right? Every little thing here or there can make a difference in you winning the match. Period, right? So that's how good these 3 players are. I'm really excited to see her on her match against Neutrophil, who will play random, by the way, likely, right? We'll see, and or maybe pull an archaic strategy where he plays one race first to throw you off, and then go back to the Protoss.
Yeah, and my final comment, right, with instability, I think ET talked about it a lot. It's just at some point in that game where you have your 3 bases or you have a good bank, you just gotta drop those extra 4 stargates maybe, or extra several gateways, because you have so much money. You gotta be able to remax on that decisive battle, right?
Yep.
And so yeah, just those small things, but like what you said, we're nitpicking here. She got the victory. She got 2-0. That was impressive.
Yeah, we're nitpicking. And by the way, these players are so close to masters. These little things that they do, they'll get over the hump and they'll be masters, right? So that's really the key here. So I'm excited for the improvement of these players, right? That's how good they are, Seth. I mean, they're leapfrogging some of us, right? So there you go.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Let me ask ET. So if you play against Skytoss, what would you recommend against those Zerg players in our Code S division, and how to deal with that?
I think the big things for Dark Menace was his creep spread was great, but you need to add on spores once you're maxed out.
Yeah.
A lot more spores. And he kind of, I think he just was struggling with the composition a little bit. Trying to, it's like you gotta know what you're gonna go for against it. If you're floundering between Hydra, Lurker, and Corruptors and Lings and everything else, it's really gonna hurt you. And just kind of the Viper micro as well. You got to either abduct or cast a couple spells, then run back, let the damage happen, then go in with the next set of parasitic bombs. So you just got to take it a little bit slower. I felt like for Dark Menace, it was anytime he decided he was going to take a fight, and this is a good thing in a lot of other matchups. As soon as he decided I'm going to fight, he just went all in immediately. Every unit's going, they're all fighting. But with Sky Toss, you got to take it a little bit slower sometimes with those fights.
That's a very good point. That's something even me, it took me this long to figure out how to play against it. Be patient, hide behind them spores, throw some parasitic bombs, abduct, run away. Yeah, time is on your side, I think, especially with Zerg and the creep spread and all that, right? So.
Yeah. Well, that wraps up for tonight. If you want to take a quick peek on our schedule next Wednesday, and then we can wrap up the.
Yeah, let's
the
take a
stream.
quick peek of that. Let's look
Yeah.
now
So
at the schedule here. We're
the
showing on
2v2
screen.
here. Actually, I'm excited to see again the blind leading the death. They're going to be facing off. Kodayo here is going to be licking their wounds and trying to prepare for this game. It's going to be an interesting game to see what the blind leading the death prepares. And then after that, we'll have our Code A, which is Mighty Ant, Sloza going up against Cyan. And then another big Code S. It seems like every week we have a big Code S match. This time it's going to be Dark Menace and Neutrophil.
Yes, so I'm excited about the 2v2 because if I was Kodeo, I would not underestimate the blind leading the deaf. They have some. I'm sure they're gonna plan out something, right? That'll catch you.
Definitely.
So that's really cool to see. Mighty Ant and Cyan will need to see one of them return to form, and some of them will return to form. Cyan looks a little off this season, and Mighty Ant, we'll see what happens if he improves from his previous performance. And then this Dark Menace Neutrophil, well, Dark Menace was consensus number 1. I still think he can get there if he wins. If he wins against Neutrophil, it's just by the law that instability beat him doesn't necessarily mean she should be number 1 right off the bat, right? Because she may still lose to Neutrophil. But if Dark Menace beats Neutrophil, then he in my mind he's kind of back. But if he doesn't, he definitely drops to number 3, right? And so that's a big game for them. It's a rematch. In the race matchup anyway, from what I think, right? Unless Neutrophil goes full random. So that's not till Wednesday. So we have plenty of time for them to practice and get ready.
Yep.
Well, and I think the underratedly important thing about that is if Dark Menace falls to 3rd place, that means he's probably on the same side of the playoff bracket with Neutrophil.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point.
So it's like you really want to be the 2nd place player who is on the one side of the bracket on their own. It doesn't have the toughest matches until you get to the finals, right? So that's going to be a big position jockey.
That's right. And if you take a look at if you go to the playoff tab there, we can take a look at the Code S and how the playoff bracket would look like.
Yeah, let's go take a quick peek.
So you want to take that number 1 seed. That's very important because then it's pretty much smooth sailing. You're going to be waiting for the Code A representative, the winner from that side against 5, which, based on you being number 1, should be a very favorable matchup for you. And then number 2, 3, and 4, in that side of the bracket, they're going to have to duke it all out, right? And so that number 1 seed is very important.
Yeah, it's going to be really close, I think. I can't wait to see what happens with... Oh wait, Instability already played Neutrophil, and Neutrophil did win. So, by the law that we've just been talking about, he's number 1 ranked. So, yeah.
Yes. But if Neutrophil beats Dark Menace, this is gonna be A beats B beats C, but C beats A, right?
We'll see what happens. We don't really.
Yeah, it's gonna be a case of how you did in the other games, and map score is gonna be very, very important. But You know, Neutrophil did 2-0 Instability. Instability did 2-0 Dark Menace. So now let's see. This Dark Menace Neutrophil match is going to be very important.
And you know what? Freedom has not even played any of those three. So that's gonna throw a wrench, you know. So we'll see how
Yes.
that works out, right? And Sir
Yeah.
Malik can throw things off too. So it's still not anywhere close to being decided. This is an exciting Code S division.
That's right. All right.
All right. Well, that'll do it for tonight, guys. Thanks for watching. ET, thanks for casting as usual. We feel like
Thanks for
it's a
having me.
big, yeah. It's like it feels like it's John Madden casting our game. It's an important game, right? That's I'm like, oh wow, okay, cool. It's the it's either the Thanksgiving games or whatever, right? And or it's like Artosis in them, right? So you're basically our Artosis, a single tastosis on this. So thanks for casting tonight.
Yeah, no problem at all. Happy to be here.
All right, so Sep, that'll do it. See you guys next time on Wednesday. Same thing, Wednesday and Thursday.
Yeah. And those on chat, don't worry. I am going to audit the standings to make sure they reflect the correct standings for you and your teams. And we'll have that done. Yeah. I'll make sure I'll audit it, make sure it's updated correctly. So.
Yeah, and one more thing, guys. We started a Patreon last week, so we have 3 Patreons. And we're gonna make a screen for that. We haven't gotten to that yet. We want to give some time for everyone, but basically, really big thanks to Cyan, Hyper Turtle, and the Rogue Ranch for the Patreon support. And if you guys want to check that out, the Patreon, check it out on patreon.com/SciStorm. So that'll do it, guys. Big appreciation to all you who support by watching as well. So see you guys next week on Wednesday. Later,
GGs.
guys. GG's.
Zerg is almost maxed out.
The Terrans fought under all those lurker fire. He should have backed off.
Yeah. That was really good control there by Kodeo, man. The way they split, the lurkers fought off on the high ground. Because that was a good decision there to just back out and then go to the high ground.
AoE. The other problem with Hyper Turtle's team is they did not have AoE to deal with aim.
Yeah. Here we go. G.
I really thought they had that. Big push. Good game.
DRP.
Hey.